Hello! Welcome back to our Geist build. We're going to be finishing up today, which is super exciting. And we're going to start doing that by working on the bottom of the ship. Yeah, luckily the nose was super easy to just copy over, so thank God for that. Yeah, very interesting, right? Yeah, so I think we're just building the spine right now and trying to leave as much room as possible for the interior. So even though it seems like it's a lot, it does end up being a little cramped vertically. So, can't win them all. Yeah, but basically, I think I'm going to try a few different, if I'm remembering right, I'm going to try a few different things just to get the angle right. Because that was something that I especially struggled with on the bottom, was getting the right angle for the curve. Just because it ended up being a lot more shallow than I thought it was going to be. So, yeah. We're just going to do a lot of trying things to get there. Oh yeah, and it's so annoying when things don't fit like they should. I really like using the... especially the one wide bar plates, one wide modified bar plates to fill in gaps sometimes, just because they are such a specific length that they actually fit in a lot of gaps that you wouldn't think they would, and they look pretty good doing that as well, surprisingly. They almost look better than just the gap being filled would be a lot of times, I think, because they add some nice little detailing. It's really satisfying just to see them when they do line up perfectly, like right here. I think it just looks really good. Oh, and that's super satisfying as well, when those wedges are perfect. Usually it's because I planned that and know the right angles, but it's still satisfying, planned or not. Yeah, so maybe I don't mess with it as much as I thought I was going to. I guess I don't. So, yeah, we got the basic of that down. We're going to do the engines now. And these are, they're engines. They're pretty straightforward. I tried to get them as detailed as I could, in accordance to what I could see on the actual model. Unfortunately, it was hard to kind of see exactly everything, and it was hard to find pieces that would work, because they're kind of, in this scale, these big ones that I'm making really should be probably 3 wide. So I was trying to figure out if I should make them 4 wide or if I should make them 2 wide, because there aren't really any 3 wide just round bricks. There's the cones, and there's the new slope. I guess it's kind of a cone, it's more of a slope piece that was used as the candy, or not the candy, the ice cream cone. Ice cream on the ice cream cone from the Lego Movie 2. But yeah, other than that, there's really no 3 wide round stuff. So I just went with 4, because it seemed like it would work the best rather than 2. It would be a bit more pronounced. I'm just trying to find the right place to put it on, where it's at the right height, and where it fits, and moving over my guide so it's not in the way. Yeah, I definitely think 4 was the right choice, especially now that I'm looking at it here. And we're just going to add, there's quite a few little engines on here, and some long ones too, that kind of just stick out super long, so I tried to reinforce it as much as I could. Yeah, this one specifically just goes way out there. And I think it should probably technically be a little bit angled, but there were no parts that would do that, and also there was no space. So that's just going to be how it is. And you're going to have to deal with it, even though you don't care, and I care. I'm the only one that really cares at the end of the day about pretty much any of this. But yeah, and just adding these additional engines on the side. Not too much going on, just trying to fit them in however I can. I'm not even sure. Oh yeah, I do. I just, not the way I wanted. Yeah, that's about it. Just trying to fit those in there as much as I can. I'm sorry if you can hear any noises. You probably can't. This microphone doesn't really pick anything up, but just in case, I do apologize. Usually it's pretty quiet around here, but apparently not today. Oh yeah, that's how I fit it in. I couldn't fit in the 2 wide engines, so I just downsized the one on the top. Which isn't inaccurate, so it works. Like, it's not probably perfect, but that engine is technically a little bit smaller in universe than the other one. So the engines are pretty much good. We'll color them later. Don't worry about that yet, but we're going to add the, I guess a little transition piece to, sorry, I can't talk right now apparently. We're going to transition them a little bit so that there's enough space in the back to fit the engines. And I am reworking this because apparently, I don't know how I noticed that in the middle of this, but apparently that wasn't connected. So yeah. Oh, and we're not even just transitioning, we're actually covering the just very beginning of the engine section a little bit. Well, I guess I should really wait a second before I say things sometimes. We're not even just covering the very beginning, it's the whole thing. That just all comes all the way out. Just to protect the engines a little bit, I'm assuming. Which is nice because stuff like this really helps hide certain things that I want to hide, because I like to hide things. Yeah, I really like those Nexonites shield pieces. They're very useful sometimes just because they have that perfect 45-degree angle. And unfortunately, LDD doesn't have... That's not relevant in this case because they wouldn't be useful. But LDD is not updated with the new just 2x2 45-degree angle wedges, which would be super nice. Not here, obviously, but sometimes. Certainly, there are a lot of times where that would be super nice. And I will probably end up switching over to Studio in a little bit, just because that is getting updated with the new pieces and LDD is not. But also, Studio doesn't have a lot of pieces that LDD does yet, so I guess we'll just wait and see which one comes out on top. I mean, everybody's pretty much given up hope at this point. It would be nice, but LEGO's probably not going to come back to LDD. I think it was just too expensive to upkeep. I was actually, so this is completely unrelated, but there's not a lot of stuff to talk about here, so I'm gonna continue with my story. So I worked with LEGO, I guess technically, through what was then the Kuso program on the LEGO Minecraft set for Kuso. So that was a lot of fun, but that's relevant because I got to talking to one of the employees that works at Ideas, who was kind of in charge of Ideas at the time. You probably know who I'm talking about if you keep up with Ideas leadership at all, I guess. But so I was talking to him about LDD specifically, and he told me that, one, they discontinued the, because you used to be able to order the things you make through LDD through LEGO's website, which has since been discontinued because it was so expensive to upkeep, because, what was I saying? Sorry, something just distracted me. Because, oh yeah, they basically, instead of using machines, because they were all custom sets, they have to specifically hire people and have people who just, it was their job to wander basically a room full of all the bricks that LDD has and assemble the sets themselves, which is obviously super, super expensive to keep going. And so that's why that was shut down. And I would assume, that was really the whole money-making point of LDD in the first place. That's kind of why they made it, was so that people could order the sets that they make, and that would be how they would make money on it. And it really did not turn out well in that respect. I'm sure there was a way that could have turned out a lot better if they had planned accordingly, but that's just not what happened. So I'm assuming that once they really lost their revenue stream, the whole LDD team lost a ton of funding and was eventually obviously dissolved. So I know you didn't see me build it, but we're basically done with the outside. We're going to color it, but that was it. So I have the interior kind of mapped out, and it's going to change a lot, even from the version that you end up seeing here. Like, I go through after recording this and everything and completely change the interior due to some feedback that I got, because interiors have never been my strongest suit, and they're not like really bad, they've just never been my favorite like thing that I've made before. So I did get a little feedback and fixed it up quite a bit. So, but you'll see how I build the original one here. So yeah, I just mapped out the rooms that I wanted with the colors, and I'm making a little hologram with the Star Destroyer right now, and I end up replacing it with a planet with the moon in the end. Not that you'll see it, but that's what happens later. Just mostly because there wasn't enough room. I end up shrinking this by about a stud on each side so I can add some proper walls and some detailing there. So I completely downsized this whole table right here and just put a tiny planet with a little moon next to it instead of this whole big thing. And that also has the added advantage of being, because LEGO is super picky about what pieces are transparent and which ones aren't, so that has the advantage of having pieces that could at least potentially feasibly be transparent in LEGO's inventory. So yeah, I'm trying to add a little wall detailing here using the anti-studs. It's not what I end up going with, but it was a nice attempt, I did what I could with what was there. It doesn't look horrible in retrospect, just I think the final version looks a lot better, and it is gray here. I did end up eventually changing it to white due to some, like I said before, feedback that people gave me, but I was mostly basing this off of what we see in the comics, first of all, and second of all, what we see in Star Wars Battlefront 2 when we explore the interior of an MC-80 there. And in both those occasions, it's much more gray than it is white. In the comics, it's completely gray. Like, there's no white at all. And you could, I guess, make an argument that there was a little bit of white in the Battlefront games, and that it would just look gray from the lighting, but it was really pretty gray. Like, yeah. So I went for gray here. People were of the opinion, for the most part, that white is pretty much the standard look for this sort of ship. That's what I'm trying to say, ship. So I ended up changing it. And I still can't decide which is better, but I think at the very least, the white provided some good contrast to the gray of the rest of the ship. So that's ultimately why I ended up going with it, was mostly for contrast. So yeah, and I'm experimenting with colors a little bit, because in Battlefront 2, there's a lot of orange colored lights on the walls and everything, but I wanted to put some blue in there from the comics. So just trying to change it up and see what looks better. I end up doing both, and completely redoing this entire section of the ship. Complete redo all the chairs, because they're plates right now. They aren't chairs. Especially Hera's chair. I do a little bit more with it, but it's really not much. So I ended up completely redoing all of that. Or maybe I don't do anything else with Hera's chair. Maybe that's also just a plate. And a lot of that, as you can see, I'm like trying to place things here, and there's just not enough room overhead. So that's kind of why there was so much restriction right here, and why it's pretty simple. But I end up turning this section Hera sitting into a little hangar with a mini ghost in it, and moving all this back so I can build it up a lot more. Yeah, see, I can't even move Hera back because she's like in the sweet zone right there, where she just barely fits. And I can't move her forward either, so yeah. So I'm just putting all the minifigures in position. Rendering this was a pain because I export it to Maya and everything and render it there, and I do that using the LDD database and everything to get the pieces into the 3D model form, but the Rebel helmets are not in that database, and they're not in any database except for LDD. So I had to download like 5 different things and installed like tons of different programs just to try and figure out how to get it from LDD into my render, and luckily I finally figured it out, but that was just such a pain. But I thought they were important. So anyway, we are painting now. Basically for this, I wasn't quite sure how to handle the painting. I'm not sure if I've really figured it out yet. I can't remember my process here. But, actually, no, I think I have. I think I'm doing the thing that I ended up doing. But, so I basically got some pictures of the little mini model that's used in the Star Wars Armada game, like the tabletop game, from, I forget who makes that. I forget, honestly. So I use that model, and just because of the nature of the model, it's painted with like 3 colors, just to keep down on costs, so it's a lot easier to understand. So I basically just took that, and I took some pictures of that, and I upped the contrast to help me see better, and I just kind of went around and painted based off of that, and went back and forth. I wasn't trying to be completely exact, I was trying to get close, but I understood that, I just kind of wanted to paint, sort of, with this, so I kind of went just with my gut in a lot of things. And I used dark red here. I end up changing that to, I think it's medium nougat, or just regular nougat, or something, because I wasn't liking how the dark red was looking. It was just a little too, there was too much contrast, I thought, where this is more supposed to look like kind of all meld together in terms of colors, and just look like random like splotches. So yeah, I tried dark orange here, still too much contrast, still looks weird, and we won't end up changing it to later, so I'm adding all the red-blue touches. I just kind of went one color at a time, referencing the photo and kind of painting myself, and, trying to do what I thought looked best, even if it wasn't super accurate, which is something that's difficult for me to do. Yeah. It's just I think the sand blue really adds a nice touch, and I added a bunch of, this wasn't on the model either, but I added a bunch of dark gray just for contrast in places that I felt that could use it, just based off of, I guess, my gut. So yeah, it's just tried to do it where it made sense, and where I thought it might look good. That's kind of really up to just using your gut, and trying and seeing if it looks good or not. And it, there's always a question, well, does that look better, or does it just look the same, or anything? So you just gotta trust yourself with some of those things, and that's really the secret, is just trusting yourself. Yeah, so now we're gonna do the bottom, because I just kind of tried to do the top at one point, all at the same time, reference that one picture, and then reference my picture of the bottom of it to do the bottom. So yeah, just a lot of painting. I really like the colors. I think the sand blue works really good. The dark orange obviously is not working yet, but the final one I think looks pretty good. And the dark tan works really well with the sand blue. And then you have the nougat, or will eventually have the nougat, to add some more contrast. And yeah, I like how the colors all turned out. And luckily, when I was exporting for another render, all the colors of the model I was exporting were like completely random, which was super annoying because I had to go and redo it all. But luckily, in that instance, everything was kind of made sense where the colors were, but this is pretty random, so thank the Lord that I was able to fix that issue when I was trying to export this, because that would have been such a nightmare. Yeah. So we're almost done. Just adding those last dark grays. We'll see if I change the... Oh, I think I already did. Yeah, I changed the dark orange to a nougat. And luckily it's digital, so I can do that. And there's the final render. All nice against a space background. Looking good. There's some profile views against a neutral background. And there is the turnaround with all the different angles in isometric view. Finally, we have the interior with all the minifigures that we've already made all set up in there. I think it looks really nice. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that whole building process. I hope you enjoyed how it ended up looking. I really like it. So yeah, feel free to like and subscribe, and have a good day.